Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. Multicolored light. Most of it poured over from the east. Shahao and this group of people entered the secret realm, feeling a spiritual essence so thick that it wouldn't thin out. Fire Devil Palace truly are good for nothing. These people were furious. Fire Devil Palace actually looked down on them so much, thinking of them as the most useless muddled fish, sending them to their own sex region. When the time comes, they might use us as cannon fodder. Someone said in a rather worried manner. Fire Devil Palace thought that their fighting strength wasn't high and that they were all just there to make up the number. They thought that weren't much of a threat at all, and they couldn't contend against their own sect in searching for the various types of natural luck at all. Soon after, the angered people closed their mouths, no longer saying too much, because after entering here, there was a high chance of them encountering people from that sect. Shahao began to move out, walking east. There were quite a few people who even moved out before him, leaving behind some afterimages in that direction. It was because purple energy was scattering outwards, and it was all coming from the east. It's a stalk of hound leaf vine. Someone cried out in joy. Before they traveled that far, he saw a stalk of vine at the base of a mountain that took root between the cracks of the stone. It had multicolored light swirling about it. This stalk of medicine was less than 3 feet tall. It looked like it was carved from black jade. Its leaves looked like a vicious hound. They released strands of dark light, and the entire medicine filled the air with spiritual essence. This cultivator squatted down. He took out a jade shovel and carefully dug it out to avoid harming the roots and scattering the spiritual essence. He quickly obtained this spiritual medicine. Suddenly, a sky-splitting sound rang through the air. A streak of scarlet multicolored light quickly rushed over, and then a miserable cry sounded. This cultivator, that could be considered quite powerful, as well widened his eyes, showing fear. His face gazed into the skies as he collapsed into a pool of blood. This was a scarlet feather arrow. It pierced through his skull, killing him on the spot, fierce and accurate. A single arrow took his life, not leaving him with any chance. The hound leaf vine in his hands fell onto the ground. A bit of blood splashed onto its surface. A dozen or so people came over from his direction. When they saw this scene, they were all resentful. This was just too domineering. Did they really not think their lives were worth anything? Everyone could only feel angry inside. None of them dared to say anything, and they held it all in, because they noticed there were many figures up ahead. There were a few others, clearly Fire Devil Palace's experts. This was a well-known great sect that sent multiple experts, with their divine flames lit inside. If they truly fought against each other, with their cultivation realms only being at the supreme expert realm, they would be completely wiped out. Shahao watched this scene from the distance, feeling discontent inside. Fire Devil Palace was too overbearing and ruthless, but this also meant that there was definitely something incredible up ahead that made this sect feel so nervous. There were quite a few individuals who had similar thoughts as himself. A few individuals felt a bit itchy-fingered, but after comparing themselves to the enemy's strength, they had no choice but to shake their heads and helplessly withdraw. There were a few others who were hesitating. They hid themselves among the trees and thus vanished. Shahao didn't fight them head-on. Towards any divine-level expert, he wouldn't underestimate them, let alone the fact that there were more than one. He had to deal with them carefully. Shahao stood on top of a tall mountain and gazed into the distance. The heart of this region was a vast and boundless mountain valley. It was incredibly majestic. Purple energy rose, surging upwards. It was as if there were draconic cries that sounded. It was an extremely unordinary and unique place. What a precious land. What is there inside? Shahao said softly. Fire Devil Palace's people protected this valley entrance, standing there seriously and not allowing anyone to come closer. There were many people watching the surroundings as well, strictly locking down this place. Shahao paced back and forth, walking to a zone even further out in search of opportunities, as well as investigating if there were shortcuts to other regions, like transport formations. Before entering, he heard that Origin Sky Secret Realm was large to an unbounded degree, but one would often discover some ancient transport formations, making the amount of land one has to travel become much shorter. things don't look too good. Shahao discovered an abnormality. He only walked a few dozen li, but was already blocked. There was a great formation sealing the skies. What kind of place is this? How can there be a great formation sealing it up? We can't even leave the Fire Devil Palace's people even if we wanted to. Someone's expression changed. He had a bad feeling. That purple valley was the center of a perimeter of 100 li. It was occupied by Fire Devil Palace's people. Could it be that they found something, that there was a path there? Everyone finally understood why this place lacked poisonous bugs and mysterious beasts. It was because this was a sealed earth that was separated from the outside world. Even if there were vicious beasts of divine birds, they couldn't come in. Some people tested things out, wishing to leave this ancient formation. However, they quickly suffered disasters. There were several people who were killed by the symbols, making everyone's expressions change. Forcefully trying to break out was definitely no good. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They really had no way. Shahao followed the original route back, closing in on that spacious valley that was seething with purple energy. Many people returned, watching from the distance. They felt that if there really was no way, then they'll just follow behind Fire Devil Palace to see how they leave. The valley suddenly released a ferocious noise. Scarlet light rushed into the air. An enormous scarlet feathered crane rushed out. Half of its body was burning, and blood covered it. It fell outside the mountain valley. That place was in absolute chaos. It drew many cries of alarm. It's seriously injured. Shahao and the others were astonished. Fire Devil Palace's expert, that ignited its divine flame, suffered serious injuries in the valley. However, they didn't dare to act recklessly. There should be more than a single divine level expert that came. I should just search for a few natural opportunities for now. Shahao said to himself. He originally didn't want to waste time, but there was no way to leave, so he began to collect the herbs nearby. The others also roamed about, watching Fire Devil Palace's scarlet feathered crane race's actions. Soon after, the peace was shattered. Less nonsense. If I tell you to go, then hurry up and go. The sinister-looking youth was a bit impatient as he glared in this direction. He didn't put Shahao in his eyes at all. Meanwhile, the other cultivators were also herded by Scarlet Feather Crane Race's people, forced towards a certain direction. They were going to bring them into the valley. Shahao licked his lips, and then he sized up this youngster. This sinister-looking youth felt a shiver for some reason, but this feeling quickly disappeared, making him wonder if it was a misconception. Leave, you all don't have any other choice. This place is sealed up by a great formation, and we can only leave through the valley. We need to work together. An elder said. When everyone heard this, they all looked at each other in dismay. Meanwhile, a middle-aged expert appeared. His eyes were like a small sun's, releasing blinding radiance. He descended in this place. This was an expert that ignited his divine flame, representing the highest power here. Everyone, please go on your way, he said indifferently. Everyone felt helpless and walked towards the valley together. The most shocking thing was that there was still a mountain inside the valley that was entirely yellow. It was formed from gold, and it was releasing divine splendor. There was a tree on it, lightning tree. As few individuals cried out in shock. Even though they were forced inside, right now, they were still shocked. Their eyes burned with desire. The golden mountain was majestic and imposing. The ancient tree on its surface was extremely unordinary and incomparably thick. It was entirely pitch black and accompanied by endless lightning radiance. However, there were a few leaves on top of the tree that were green and sparkling, releasing holy radiance without withering. Everyone's eyes were fixated on it. Forget about that golden mountain being different, just this tree alone was a priceless treasure. Apart from this, there were large amounts of abandoned ancient medicinal fields nearby the golden mountain. Even though it was covered in weeds, there were still some old medicines growing there that released rich medicinal fragrances. Only, those places were extremely dangerous. Large amounts of symbols lit up. Everyone, this is a hidden place that might hold a tremendous secret. Why don't we explore it together, Fire Devil Palace's people said. However, even though their words sounded nice, the Scarlet Feathered Crane's people forced everyone forward, having them find a path while they themselves followed behind. Seniors, there is a restriction here. It is extremely dangerous. Someone said in a soft voice, "Don't worry. With us old ones here behind you, if there is some changes, we will rescue you." An expert that had ignited his divine flame said indifferently. Everyone's hearts burned with anger. Even Fire Devil Palace's expert that ignited a divine flame was seriously wounded, unable to defend itself, so how could they possibly protect them? Forcing them forward like this was the same as sending everyone to their deaths. "Seniors, our strength are lower, please let us go," a cultivator said with great respect. His face carried a sincere expression, as he pleaded with Fire Devil Palace's people not to force them. This is a place of natural opportunity. Could it be that you all do not wish to grab this chance? An expert that ignited his divine flame calmly said. "We acknowledge that we do not have that type of good fortune." A person spoke up. His posture was lowered, and his voice was quiet. "We cultivators face adversity head-on. If you withdraw as soon as there is danger, how can you obtain any accomplishments?" This divine-level expert's face fell as he spoke. Several dozen individuals became silent, but they all cursed inwardly. This old thing didn't even dare walk in front of them, having them lead the way, yet he has the face to say this. However, he was still stronger than the rest of them. "You all, prepare yourselves, and then search through the hidden land. We will dig up a tremendous secret together," this divine-level expert said with a fling of his sleeve. This was equivalent to showing the final diplomatic gesture. The number of people from both sides were about the same, but what could they do about the 4 great experts from the scarlet-feathered crane race, who were overseeing this place? "Senior, please spare my life," that person pleaded. His face drained of color as he continuously begged for mercy. "Don't speak nonsense. My martial uncle wants you to go, so there won't be a lack of natural opportunities for you when the time comes. Don't waste time." Fire Devil Palace's handsome, but rather feminine young expert Kai Feng berated. "I won't go." This person backed up. The divine flame around Kai Lingkong surged. His eyes were extremely cold. He raised his hand, and then this person was immediately locked up, unable to struggle anymore. "Just go in." The handsome and cold Kai Feng walked up, preparing to throw him forward. "There's no need, just kill him," Kai Lingkong coldly said. When everyone heard this, they were all horrified. Kai Feng carried a feminine smile. He pulled out a bone sword and began to brandish it about. With a pu sound, that person's head flew off, drawing forth a large expanse of blood. This scene made everyone shiver from head to toe. This was an example for the rest of them, carrying out intimidation and threat. Whoever dared to disobey, this was the result. That individual's face became pale, opening his mouth to say something, but not daring to do so. "My martial uncle is talking to you, hurry up and go. Stop dilly-dallying." Feng's feminine and handsome face carried a cold smile, urging him to move. That cultivator was stupefied. In the end, he walked forward. Otherwise, he would immediately die without any other choice. The moment he took a step outwards, symbols flickered about, but he wasn't injured. It was clear that the place where his foot landed was the correct one. He then walked forward a few more times. Right at that moment, light flickered about. This person was immediately hacked into 2 pieces. Then, with a pu sound, he collapsed into a blood pool. Then, the surging multicolored light quickly crushed him apart, wiping out both body and spirit. Everyone was horrified. A cultivator died so tragically so quickly. "You walk up a step, then take 5 steps to the left." Kai Lingkong was extremely calm, continuing to point forward to have the third person walk out. "Forgive me, save me." This person couldn't help but cry out, truly not wishing to die like this. "It's your turn." Kai Lingkong pointed towards the 5th person. "I am going to stake it all against you." This cultivator was fierce, rather dying than submit. He suddenly erupted with violence. He didn't attack the cultivator that ignited a divine flame, but instead brought out a magical artifact to kill that young expert Kai Feng. However, he was quickly frozen in place, unable to budge an inch. "A little pearl can also shine," Kai Lingkong in the air said coldly. He unleashed his own domain, trapping this person in the void. "You dare to rebel." Kai Feng's eyes were malicious. This person wanted to kill him, drawing his fury. The bone sword flickered about, and with a pu sound, he directly removed this cultivator's head. Everyone was furious. They tightly clenched their fists. Everyone, what are you still waiting for? Let's move together, or else our conclusions are set in stone. Shahao transmitted. He couldn't watch on any longer and decided to take action. The 4 great divine-level experts sat down, discussing among themselves on how to break through the formation. Everyone, there is an ancient medicine field. Even though it's been abandoned, there are still some spiritual medicines growing inside. This is quite an excellent opportunity. Let's pick them together. Fire Devil Palace's supreme expert said. Correct, let's seize the moment and pick the spiritual medicines from the medicinal field. Kai Feng walked up, forcing a few people. The abandoned medicinal field was just up ahead, surrounding the Golden Mountain. Thistles and thorns grew everywhere. However, there were spiritual medicines that flowed with auspicious multicolored light as well, buried within. Everyone was discontent, but they had no choice. It was still better than breaking through that great formation. Be careful, even though the formations here are damaged, there are still places that are still dangerous. Fire Devil Palace's people kindly reminded. Shahao thought for a bit, and then he followed everyone inside. He still did not decide to take action. Meanwhile, everyone from Fire Devil Palace walked up. There was a cauldron that already had several tens of stalks of spiritual medicines inside. It was clearly picked when they broke through the formation beforehand. In a bit, we will help everyone store their spiritual medicines. Once you pick 5 stalks, you must immediately come back and place the spiritual medicines into this cauldron. Kai Feng carried a bit of cold intent as he said. Many people wanted to cut him down immediately, but they could only clench their fists. After coming to this region, there were still a few people who were successful in the beginning, obtaining a few stalks of precious medicines. However, later on, several people died in the formations, leaving others horrified. After the 4 experts finished their discussion, they made a shocking decision, ordering an expert from their own clan to commit suicide. Martial uncle, what is the meaning of this? That middle-aged man was confused. He felt a trace of fear. You have a beast teeth life-saving symbol on you, so when you die, you will be immediately sent back. I want you to return and bring back my clan's 7-level stairway to heaven, said Kai Lingkong. The so-called stairway to heaven was a special type of artifact that could travel across all types of formations. The legendary 9-level stairway to heaven allowed one to even enter a chaotic magical formation without any problems. Meanwhile, the Scarlet Feathered Crane race had a 7-level stairway of heaven, which was already quite astonishing. It was a treasure hard to find in the entire world. Of course, this type of artifact wouldn't display any offensive use, only being able to temporarily help one cross a formation. In addition, it couldn't be maintained for a long time. Despite this being the case, this type of treasure still couldn't be lightly used. If it was damaged, it would be too much of a waste. There were too many unknown variables once one entered the Origin Sky secret realm. Fire Devil Palace didn't dare to lightly bring it in out of fear of losing it inside. Only now when they were sure there were no competitors, and that there was a tremendous opportunity here did the 4 experts decide to bring it after some discussing. In the distance, everyone was speechless. Even something like this was okay. Soon after, he returned, bringing a pure white stairway to heaven. The 4 experts personally set it up, connecting this heavenly staircase to the other side, producing a jade white passageway that led directly to the Golden Mountain. You all, come over. Kai Lingkong spoke up, inviting the cultivators that were picking medicines over. Symbols flickered about. Shahao and 2 others were trapped within the medicine field, temporarily unable to free themselves, so they didn't come over. Kai Feng took joy in their disaster. If you don't pick 20 stalks of precious medicines, then you can forget about returning alive. Shahao turned around, revealing a cold smile on the corners of his lips. He didn't seem to mind at all, since he didn't want to go over anyway. You all, step on the heavenly ladder and cross over. Kai Lingkong pointed at 4 people, forcing them to walk on the white jade passageway. Those 4 individuals braced themselves and walked forward. Surprisingly, everything went smoothly without any dangers. They reached the base of the Golden Mountain. Carefully search there, Kai Lingkong ordered. Fire Devil Palace's people were incomparably moved. They actually succeeded. A honglong sounded. Someone at the foot of the mountain opened a golden gate, revealing the enormous golden palace within, triggering cries of shock, and then cheers of joy from the scarlet feathered crane race. This is too awesome. You all, go as well. Enter the palace and search together. Kai Lingkong ordered the other cultivators to go as well. Meanwhile, Kai Lingkong raised his hand, pointing towards the medicinal field. Fiery light dropped down from the sky, and with a hong sound, it directly drowned out Shahao and two other people. In the blink of an eye, an incomparably deep hole appeared in that original spot. Kai Lingkong sneered. Only by doing this could he relax. Then, he stepped on the heavenly staircase and walked outwards. He also warned his clan's disciples to protect the other end of the heavenly staircase. Soon after, the four great experts entered the belly of the Golden Mountain. Inside the hole, Shahao's entire body was covered in earth and stone. He silently stood up. In his eyes was a cold light. He climbed out from the great hole. It was quite unfortunate that the other two weren't able to survive. They couldn't resist the divine might, and were killed on the spot. He walked towards the heavenly staircase. There were 4 people protecting that area, all of them excited and nervous, waiting for the good news of the 4 great experts' rewarding journey. You didn't die. Kai Feng was shocked. He glanced over at Shahao, who was walking over. The others also turned around, all of them frowning after seeing him. This was too terrifying. Everyone shivered in fear. Everyone, move together. Hurry and kill him. Someone cried out loudly. They also made a report to the other side. Lightning streaked across the air. Shahao erupted with power like a young heavenly deity, displaying incomparable fighting prowess. The 8 or 9 figures that rushed up were immediately charred black and blasted outwards. He arrived with just a few steps, standing beside the jade-white heavenly staircase. On the other side, Kai Lingkong and the other experts all rushed over after hearing the activity. They were absolutely furious, but also incomparably anxious. They were about to step on the heavenly staircase and rush back. However, Shahao brought out a fist-sized pill furnace that was suffused with an earthen yellow color. It erupted with divine might, smashing down on the heavenly staircase. With a kacha sound, cracks appeared on it. The stairway to heaven, this type of magical artifact's value was shocking, but that was not on its offensive power. The 4 great experts stopped moving, all of them trembling inwardly. If they stepped on it, this heavenly staircase would immediately crack apart. They would then definitely fall into the Great Formation, and be forever buried here. All of you can't even stop a single person. Absolute trash. Kai Lingkong erupted with rage. On this side, a group of experts flocked over to attack Shahao, but what left them incomparably fearful was that the difference between Shahao and themselves was too great. Shahao's entire body shone. His offensive power was too shocking. When a fist smashed out, a supreme expert directly exploded, turning into a rain of blood in the void. Who was this? Everyone was horrified. A streak of electricity flew over. 6 or 7 people were burned into black coal, hacked apart by lightning. During this process, Shahao put away the 7-level stairway to heaven, turning it into the size of his fist. He played around with it in his hands, and then he revealed a cold smile. Beast tooth symbol. Shahao's pupils flickered with radiance. At the entrance of Origin Sky Secret Realm, the elders from each sect were discussing among themselves. They were all making guesses at which sect would receive the greatest harvest, or which exceptional talent would rise in glory, sweeping through his opponents. Your Fire Devil Palace really has an advantage. With those waste fish sent along with you guys, your race won't feel the slightest bit of competition. This isn't sincere at all. Some people felt discontent. It is just exploiting trash. Who told you guys to move so slowly? This old one will let them use their strength for something. They are the last dozen or so anyway, yet they just had to overestimate themselves and enter. Who could they blame for sending themselves to death but themselves? Fire Devil Palace's elder carried an indifferent smile. There was ridicule, coldness, and complacency. Right at that moment, the altar shone. There were people who held life symbols who were killed and transported back. 4 people came back at once, arriving at the same time. How pitiful these defeated individuals are, someone said. Not right. Daoist brother, why does it look like your Fire Devil Palace's people? An elder asked. When the altar stabilized and the symbol light faded, those 4 individuals' true bodies were revealed. Everyone saw that they were indeed all Scarlet Feather Crane races people. The Fire Devil Palace senior elder that was standing guard here was alarmed. He loudly asked, "What happened?" "Senior elder, the experts from my clan that entered have been practically all killed." Someone cried out. "Senior elder, you sent over a devil king, almost all of our people were slaughtered clean," this supreme expert cried out tearfully. "It was just too tragic. It was just a single person, yet they were all defeated, impossible. The group I sent over were all mixed fish, without a single expert among them. They shouldn't have been able to fight against you guys at all. How did this type of terrible tragedy occur?" "It did happen. He is a young expert, looking like he hasn't reached 20 years old yet he slaughtered in all directions and killed our people one after another, dyeing the floor red with blood," another supreme expert added. His eyes were turning red, because he brought his nephew with him to experience the world, yet he ended up being slaughtered. Even if it was Fire Devil Palace, not everyone could obtain a beast tooth life symbol. This type of thing was extremely precious. These great sects only received around 10 of them per inheritance. A fluctuation of energy rippled outwards. The formation's symbols flickered about, and a woman walked out, her hair completely disheveled. She looked like she had received great shock, her face pale like that of a corpse. They were really lucky that Fire Devil Palace moved quickly, seizing this group of trash fish from them. He is just a single person. So how was he able to deal with 2 generations of disciples from my clan alone and sweep through all of them? "This is just too powerful," this senior elder said to himself dejectedly. "He might be an exceptional talent." A supreme expert said softly, "What? An exceptional talent?" The senior elder was furious. Then, he fell into deep despair. He had erred far too greatly this time. The other great sects people also sucked in a cold breath of air. An exceptional talent was actually treated like mixed fish, and sent into a sex area. Wasn't this the same as sending a lion into a herd of sheep? Within Origin Sky Secret Realm, Shahao's fist blasted through everything in his way. Even the supreme experts in his way were blasted apart. Bloody rain scattered about everywhere. Fire Devil Palace's people were almost all killed. Right now, his appearance was truly like that of a devil king, cold-heartedly sweeping through all enemies before him. He didn't show any weakness. Not long ago, this clan was so cruel, forcing the outsider cultivators to their deaths. They all held enormous bows, ready to kill at any moment. Beneath the Golden Mountain, the 4 experts' faces became pale, and then they became ashen. They were so angry that their bodies were shaking uncontrollably. This was just too tragic, an absolute disaster. Kai Lingkong was almost killed on the spot to return to the altar and come back to save everyone. However, after calculating the time, he decided that it definitely wouldn't be enough. He would only pointlessly exhaust his body's precious beast tooth symbol. This made his hair stand up in anger, but there was nothing he could do. There was still one last person in front of Shahao, the sister and handsome youth who looked a bit feminine. It was precisely Kai Feng. "Don't come over." His legs and waist were trembling, almost collapsing on the spot. He didn't have a life symbol, so even if he wanted to escape, he couldn't. "Don't you really like telling others whether they should live or die? It's your turn now," Shahao calmly said. Even though he killed many experts, his clothes weren't contaminated by the slightest bit of blood. He still looked as aloof as an immortal. "Martial uncle, save me." Kai Feng cried out loudly, turning around to look towards the Golden Mountain. "Stay your hand." Kai Lingkong found it hard to calm down. He shouted with a grave expression. "Do you really think I'll stop, just because you tell me to?" Shahao sneered. He gave that divine-level expert, that was berating and oppressing everyone not too long ago, a look full of disdain. There were quite a few cultivators inside the Golden Palace. They were all forced inside, and now that they saw this scene, they felt incomparably joyous. Feeling entirely free from worry inside. However, no one dared to express this outwardly. Kai Feng clenched his teeth. His face was snow white, vastly different from his previously bossy and domineering self. His entire body shone, and soon after, he turned into a brilliant scarlet feathered crane. Scarlet multicolored light flew everywhere, and bright mist filled the air. It turned around and ran, fleeing straight towards the valley entrance. The restrictions on this side had long been broken, so it rushed straight into the heavens. Xiahao picked up a large bow. His expression was indifferent as he immediately added an arrow and drew the bow. With a sheer sound, divine light streaked across the air as this feather flew outwards. In the sky, a crane cry sounded, accompanied by a rain of blood. Xiahao stopped and picked up that scarlet feathered crane. He began to remove its feathers, clean it, and prepare a meal. This is a pure-blooded scarlet feathered crane with great medicinal characteristics. It really is good for the body. I just so happened to need this in the pill recipe. Forget it, I'll first eat my fill. Xiahao said softly, watching the Golden Mountains situation while working at this meal. Soon after, a fragrance wafted out. He started up a bonfire and began to roast the crane meat. It was golden and shining, its meat sparkling with multicolored light. It would stir up one's appetite with a single look. In addition, that cauldron also released medicinal fragrance, stewing the crane meat. In addition, 2 stalks of spiritual medicines floated within, producing a delicious pot of crane soup. On the other side, Kai Lingkong was spouting smoke through his 7 orifices, truly wishing to slap him to death in one strike. His eyebrows stood on end, and he loudly berated. He really wanted to throw himself over and kill this youth. Don't stop me. I am going back to kill him. Brother Lingkong, don't be like this. The other 3 people also felt great anger. They wanted to take action, but they thought about how great the value of the life symbol was, thinking that doing this was meaningless, so they forcefully stopped him. You also understand hatred and no pain. Xiahao shot him a look. This place rang with an ear-splitting sound. Symbol light rushed into the air. Then, a passage was formed in the void. There was an expanse of haziness above that appeared together with the flight of steps. There is another floor. There is another palace hall above the enormous palace. Everyone became astonished. The group of cultivators were forced to go up first. The 4 great experts followed behind them. The higher level hall was extremely spacious. There was a divine image, an ancient beast that was shaped like a mastiff, but with some portions that clearly evolved into that of a dragon's body. It's a lightning hound. To be more precise, it should have undergone rebirth and evolved to an unimaginable degree, becoming a dragon hound. A portion of a true dragon's body actually appeared on it. The 4 great experts were shocked. Under the divine image, there was a praying mat, a rather special object. However, in the entire spacious great hall, there wasn't anything else. These 4 people were incredibly careful, forcing others to fetch that praying mat. It was because they saw that it was unordinary, with symbols swirling about it. This is an ancient treasure. Perhaps it is the praying mat the lightning dragon hound used to comprehend the Tao and cultivate. It has its Tao inside, said Kai Lingkong with light shooting out from his eyes. Then, they forced several cultivators forward to test it. In the end, another few people died miserably. We are going to stake it all. Many people fell despair. If this continued, they were all going to die. However, these 4 great cultivators didn't force them to do anything else. They noticed some clues. This praying mat might be a crucial divine object. Controlling it might be the same as grasping this entire enormous golden palace. The 4 individuals gave each other a glance, agreeing tacitly. They then sat down to slowly refine this praying mat. In the beginning, things were still going smoothly. The 4 experts were full of experience, making steady progress as they controlled this praying mat bit by bit. However, at the final moment, this treasure released a sphere of blazing radiance, blasting them all flying. What? The 4 individuals were shocked, feeling that there was a powerful will that hazily appeared. It left them terrified. The 4 experts exulted. Then, Kai Lingkong even more so directly stared at Xiahao, revealing a sinister smile, slaughtering forward. What was unexpected was that the streak of lightning the lightning tree released was incomparably thick, turning into a divine shower as it wreaked havoc, locking them down. It immediately drowned out this place. What? The 4 great experts' expressions changed, feeling a chill from their heads down to their feet. They touched the praying mat they shouldn't have, bringing about a huge disaster. They were immediately wrapped around by the lightning in midair, unable to escape. Xiahao felt great desire, to the point where he began to even drool. If this lightning tree was a magical artifact, then it was too powerful. If he could obtain it, it would definitely be a supreme treasure that could wipe out all enemies. He didn't feel fear, nor did he flee. Instead, he activated the pill furnace. This magical artifact was extremely mysterious. It bathed in the heavenly river for endless years, so it had long been suffused with a trace of immortal Tao aura. He tried to communicate with that lightning tree, to see if it was going to respond. As a result, it was actually useful. That lightning radiance revealed a trace of fluctuation. Multicolored light flickered about. The four great experts cried out miserably, "Youngster, you cheated us." In all honesty, Shahao definitely didn't have this kind of intention. It just happened to happen this way. Almost at the same time, the four people's entire bodies released green smoke, unable to resist any longer. "Linkong, we will protect you and send you over. Kill him." Among them, one individual was about to die already. He hated Shahao to the extreme. He no longer protected his own body, and instead activated symbols to protect Kai Linkong, allowing him to kill Shahao. When the other two saw this, they also made similar decisions. Either way, they were going to die anyway, so it was better to let Kai Linkong give it a try. 3 people among them were hacked flying. They originally should have been turned into ashes, but in the end, they were surrounded by symbols and transported to the altar. Kai Linkong came out, half his body scorched black, almost roasted through. There was a smell of burnt flesh. However, he didn't die yet. "In all honesty, I really didn't scheme against you guys." Shahao had an extremely sincere appearance. "You can just go and die for me." Kai Linkong cried out loudly. This youth still dared to say, "in all honesty." He was about to explode from anger. Shahao didn't move, simply supporting a pill furnace and opening its lid. Shahao was also hacked until his long hair stood on end. Fortunately, his speed was fast enough, so he did not suffer a serious attack. He put away the pill furnace and turned around. He immediately laughed. "Old fella, you are just too disappointing. I still wanted to fight an intense battle against you. How could you allow yourself to be blasted like this?" He flew back. Kai Linkong's entire face was scorched black, and his body was twitching about. He spat out blood from his mouth. His life force was about to run out, but he wasn't dead yet. That was why the life symbol didn't activate. "Little bastard, just wait. I will come back to kill you." Kai Linkong was incomparably resentful. His gaze was treacherous. "Then just let me kill you one time first. Next time, I'll kill your real body," Shahao said. He picked up a millstone-sized rock from the ground and smashed it towards his body. Kai Linkong was furious. This fella picked up a broken stone, and after infusing it with divine force, he was going to strike his head until it was split open like a gourd, hitting him until his head was broken and flowing with blood. This youth was trying to humiliate him. He was a high and mighty expert with his divine flame ignited, yet he was being beaten like in a street fight, having his head split open like a gourd. His head was in severe pain. "Just you wait." He clenched his teeth and committed suicide. At the same time, he discovered with shock that the golden mountain collapsed. The lightning tree's roots wrapped themselves around the enormous palace and pulled it up. All of the lightning radiance and restrictions disappeared. Did they just waste all that effort so that someone else could benefit? He roared outwards, so angry that his body trembled unendingly. He was too unwilling. However, he could only disappear from this place. At the entrance of the secret realm, everyone was discussing among themselves, because 3 of the 4 great experts from Fire Devil Palace died inside at the same time. They were also sent back, stirring up a huge commotion. What happened? Could it be that they were also killed by the young Devil King? Heavens! If that really is the case, another terrifying young supreme being is rising up, one that isn't any inferior to those exceptional talents, whose names shake their provinces. Fire Devil Palace really is in for it now. Everyone's expressions became weird. The supreme experts that were killed and brought back earlier from Fire Devil Palace even more so couldn't help but cry out in alarm. That female supreme expert said with a trembling voice that Devil King even killed several martial uncles. Fire Devil Palace's people realized that now wasn't the time to speak randomly and ask without thinking. Today, they had truly humiliated themselves. They would become laughingstocks. This type of military success from that youth was a huge disgrace for this type of great sect. Kai Lingkong roared outwards, his head of fiery red hair scattering outwards. He couldn't restrain his anger. There were cultivators everywhere outside the secret realm's entrance. They filled this place. News quickly spreads out among the crowd. A young devil king rose up, shaking all directions. Who was he? Why were there no clues about his existence before? What do you guys think? Could he be that Huang that left his name in the demonic sovereign's divine monument? The mysterious youth that suppressed all 10 provinces with his power? Someone said softly. As a result, this immediately created quite a disturbance. Many people began to discuss this among themselves. It really is something to look forward to. Immortal Palace's inheritor was known as an insurmountably great mountain, and Qin Hao has 2 unrivaled immortal bones. There are also other exceptional talents as well. If this young devil king encounters them, just what kind of dazzling sparks will be created? Even a few sect masters were startled. They began to pay close attention to this matter. Meanwhile, Shiziling and his wife both revealed looks of shock. They didn't know how Qin Hao was inside. If they encountered this extraordinary devil king, would he be his opponent? Meanwhile, they couldn't help but think of their eldest son as well, feeling a bit dejected. If he was still alive and his true body came here, what kind of battle successes would he have? The lightning tree was entirely scorched black and incomparably thick. The lightning radiance was already collected. Its roots wrapped around the enormous golden palace, pulling it up and suspending it in midair. The golden mountain collapsed, rumbling as it did so. Shahao stared at the lightning tree floating in midair. Originally, he didn't feel like it had a will, but now, he was a bit unsure. This was all an instinctive intuition. He suddenly discovered that the enormous golden palace the roots wrapped around changed. In the end, it unexpectedly turned into a skeleton that was incomparably enormous and brilliant. Dragon? No, mastiff. Shahao was shocked. This was a golden skeleton, one that was massive and magnificent. It towered over there in a shocking and imposing manner. The enormous palace was actually one of its transformations. It is an enormous beast evolved from a lightning hound, the legendary dragon mastiff. Shahao widened his eyes. His heart began to pulse violently. This was a legendary vicious beast. Shahao sighed in amazement. In addition, his eyes burned with desire. This enormous beast definitely grasped the pinnacle of its natural laws and possessed exceptionally great power. He wondered if it left its inheritance behind. The lightning hounds in the present world were mostly archaic descendants, with very few having pure blood. However, once they appeared, they would definitely be terrifying. They would move together with lightning and display frightening powers. This race had a small few divine mastiffs, who were capable of devouring the sun and moon. The legendary heavenly hound devouring the moon was related to them, and that was how the legend was left behind. There are some divine mastiffs that can evolve, transforming towards a true dragon, just like this one. In that case, its lightning down natural laws are definitely world-shocking. Shahao's eyes began to burn with increased passion and desire, because he was currently researching lightning precious technique. He needed this type of inheritance the most. Suddenly, a fluctuation rippled outwards. On the enormous dragon hound's skull, there were cultivators rushing out. All of their expressions were pale, carrying great shock. Shahao was astonished. There were still 20 individuals of the people who were forced inside still alive, not dying yet. Just now, the lightning torrent only directed itself at the 4 great experts, not killing them. Daoist brother, you truly have excellent methods, making those 4 experts that ignited their divine flames nurse a grievance. Worthy of respect. At that moment, the ancient tree, without any sound of activity, actually produced a hazy will. It surrounded the golden dragon mastiff skeleton, making it release strands of electrical radiance. Even without Shahao saying this, all of the cultivators' faces turned pale and they quickly ran for their lives. One has to understand that not too long ago, even the 4 great experts suffered a disaster. They would definitely die under a single strike. Shahao didn't remain here either. He turned into a streak of lightning symbols, surrounding them around himself and quickly fleeing into the distance. However, something shocking happened. The lightning tree released several dozen streaks of lightning. This electricity raining down from the skies all rushed at Shahao. This is weird. Why is it aiming at me? I didn't provoke you or anything. Shahao had a feeling that things weren't good. This was a bit unlucky. He had never even entered the enormous golden palace, yet he was targeted. Ancient trees that were struck by lightning, but were still alive, were the most terrifying. He immediately thought of the willow deity. The one in front of him naturally couldn't compare, but it still made him inwardly alarmed. That strong and forceful branch carried several dozen streaks of electricity, as it poured down, quickly descending. It looked like it was going to quickly catch him. This is a great divine ability. Shahao made this decision. The cultivation realm was extremely high. He didn't know why this existence was hibernating and laying dormant here. Without any hesitation, he immediately took out the pill furnace. He opened the lid and prepared to throw himself inside to protect himself. Of course, he was incomparably careful as well, because there were other things inside as well, for example, the immortal tombs, earth, heavenly rivers, lightning, water, and other things. However, something shocking happened. The other party released an enormous wave of power that was terrifying to the extreme. This power was actually competing with it. It wasn't coming for me, but is instead trying to seize this furnace. Shahao's mind trembled. Meanwhile, the surrounding lightning became chaotic. Countless golden snakes flew across the sky. It was a strange and chilling scene. Shahao pushed the pill furnace over with his teeth clenched. However, he left behind the lid to protect himself and block the lightning and divine force covering the sky. The two branches that were like dragons quickly reached out. One of them wrapped around the pill furnace, and the other directly entered the furnace to seize the lightning radiance. It came rushing over for the immortal Tao lightning aura. Shahao now understood. He quickly moved out of the way, leaving that area. Meanwhile, that ancient tree in the distance was the same, and a hole even appeared on its trunk that looked like a mouth. It actually began to retch outwards, and the tree trunk began to bend downwards. Curse. Shahao was sure that this was the immortal tomb's curse, and right now, it had triggered on the lightning tree, making it suffer an unimaginable disaster. It was because the curse was extremely mysterious. The more powerful the creature, the more terrifying the curse would be after that creature provoke it. In the past, there was an old sect master that fell because of the heavenly river, making others feel a great fear. That was why even after endless years, there was still no one among the great sect masters of the higher realms who dared to step foot in the immortal tomb area. This lightning tree wanted to absorb the immortal Tao aura, but it ended up leading the curse right to itself, bringing a terrible disaster onto itself. A single mishap now would result in its death. This ancient lightning tree was incomparably fearful of this pill furnace, and it now actually ran. It vomited while running on the great earth, releasing lightning radiance, and coughing out the curse power from its tree hole. Shahao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was clearly extremely dangerous and he might lose his life at any moment, but why did this type of comical scene appear now? Then, he felt a bit horrified. That tree actually spat out black-colored blood from its blood hole, but it quickly disappeared as the old tree left. He put away the pill furnace and directly rushed towards the golden dragon mastiff without wasting any time. It was because time was too pressing right now. He reckoned that the four great experts would return quickly. After entering the skull, he immediately saw that praying mat, as well as the divine image. Shahao took out the jewel pupil and carefully looked around. He was immediately shocked to find that there was a golden sheet of paper inside of the praying mat that was shining brilliantly. His heart beated heavily, feeling incomparably excited. If nothing unexpected happened, this was most likely the inheritance left behind by the dragon mastiff. It made him feel excited and happy to the extreme. Shahao moved extremely quickly. Electricity streaked across the air, speeding along and catching up to everyone that had left ahead of time. Yi, brother Devil King, you escaped. It was really dangerous just now. Someone cried out, pleasantly surprised. Daoist brother, you are formidable after all, actually able to protect yourself in such a dangerous place and returning safely. One of them sighed and said, truly respecting Shahao to the extreme. Finally got out. Everyone released a breath of relief. Being able to live was the greatest thing. A few people sighed emotionally. They were truly unlucky, actually sent to a sealed place, unable to leave even if they wanted to and forced to do what Fire Devil Palace wanted them to. Fortunately, they could now see the light of day again, freeing themselves from the troubles. I reckon our group of people likely had the most deaths. The other region's cultivators definitely weren't as unlucky as ours. A cultivator sighed and said. As soon as he spoke, a loud roar sounded from the distance, shaking heaven and earth, making even the mountains around them tremble. Tens of thousands of trees trembled, sending countless leaves scattering downwards. That is, everyone cried out in shock. In the mountain range in the distance, there was an enormous humanoid figure, whose entire body was covered in long and thick black fur. It was beating its chest violently. Around its body, there was even more so a divine flame burning fiercely. Everyone, we will separate here then. Shahao said and then turned around to leave. Many thanks, Brother Devil King. These people expressed their gratitude one after another, watching as he left. They knew that Shahao was incomparably powerful. He could fight off Fire Devil Palace's people alone, so his origins were definitely astonishing. They already inwardly came to the conclusion that this was most likely an exceptional talent. What do you guys think? Is he that Huang person? An elder said, because he saw Shahao take out that pill cauldron and saw the heavenly river inside, reminding him of Fiend Island's Great Lightning River. Why does that name sound familiar? Someone suddenly asked. Shahao and the others had just disappeared when Kai Lingkong and the others arrived, one happening right before the other. When they saw the enormous golden skeleton that was resting there, their eyes all felt great greed. This enormous palace was actually formed from the skeleton of Dragon Mastiff. Forget about everything else, just these divine bones alone are precious weapon refinement materials. Its value is priceless. What about that lighting tree? They were confused, because that ancient tree was the true heavenly treasure. The lighting it possessed could hack them to death, so its value was definitely high. And where did that little monster go? Kai Lingkong gnashed his teeth in anger, feeling incomparably resentful. Let's look around. They weren't in a rush to collect the enormous skeleton, instead fearing that there might be some dangers, so the four of them were extremely cautious. They rushed in different directions to look for Shahao and the others' clues. Soon after, an enormous voice sounded from the west. Lightning radiance flooded the skies. What happened? The three from the other directions were all shocked. Kai Lingkong and the others quickly rushed over, looking in that direction. Save me. Cries of horror sounded from the direction the electrical radiance came from. The demonic blood ghost tree, it really is that type of creature. They trembled in fear. Legends had it that this type of tree possessed demonic blood. It could turn into a tree, or it could turn into a human-shaped ghost. It was the most terrifying type of existence. Since the ancient times, it was rumored that this type of creature was extremely rare. It came from the higher realm's uninhabited region, just like the demonic cattail tree. It was one of the worst types of creatures to provoke. In fact, in that unmanned region, regardless of what type of creature it was, they were all extremely strange and powerful. For example, there was once a giant who entered the uninhabited region to look around. When he stepped into a puddle of yellow mud, his body and Dao both perished right there and then. There were other powerful sect masters who, after discovering a dewdrop that flowed with brilliance, they touched it. However, just this touch alone made their souls fly and scatter away. 9,000 miles out, Shahao stopped. He was prudent and careful. This region was extremely terrifying. Along the way, he encountered danger several times, almost encountering deities. Suddenly, inside an ancient hole in the mountain cliff ahead, a black and golden bug crawled out. It was the length of an arm. It spat out metallic radiance that shot out like sword radiance, crushing the mountain rocks and enormous trees to pieces. Black-scaled bug. Shahao was amazed. This was a strange bug whose body had chelene scales. It was extremely ferocious and liked to move in a group. What made him remember the existence of this creature wasn't that this species was terrifying, but rather that its medicinal efficacy was extremely great. Stone Clan's pill recipes had mentioned this type of ancient bug before. He originally already picked many spiritual medicines, but he was still lacking some ores, centipedes, snakes, bugs, and other things. He could make up for them with holy medicine, but since he ended up seeing this type of precious bug, he naturally wouldn't pass up this chance. The ancient hole released a loud sound. Then, several tens of thousands of black-scaled bugs rushed out, numerous and close together. They all spat out metallic energy that turned into sword radiance, as if there was nothing they couldn't overcome. Even someone as powerful as Shahao had no choice but to retreat. He was greatly shocked. A rarely seen silver bug king. Shahao was both shocked and excited. This type of thing was too rare and difficult to find. It was rare even in the great undying ancient sect's medicinal treasuries. This silver bug king could be considered a divine bug. This type of title showed how precious and rare it was. Many divine pills required it as an ingredient. With its wondrous effects, extremely rare divine medicines could be refined. If I catch it, I can immediately go into isolation and carry out the reconstruction. Shahao revealed a smile. Based on Stone Country's pill recipe, if he refined those spiritual medicines together with the divine bug in one cauldron, when he reconstructed his cultivation realms and used this to advance, there would be extraordinary effects. He would be advancing another step. This step was extremely useful, taking him closer to perfection. This group of black-scaled bugs actually treated him like prey first, releasing wung-wung sounds and rushing over murderously. That silver bug king even began to shine, producing a chilene in the void and releasing sharp sword energy, sending them hacking over towards him. Shahao turned into a streak of electricity, using extreme speed to jump into the air. He used all of his power to reach out a large hand covered in lightning and grab that silver bug king. Suddenly, a streak of purple radiance streaked across the air. It was a brilliant arrow that released demonic sound and was accompanied by terrifying symbols. It tore through the air, piercing through Shahao's lightning hand. Shahao's eyes became cold. He retrated his palm and looked towards the direction the arrow came from. His eyes were chilly. Shahao's eyes became cold. He retrated his palm and looked towards the direction the arrow came from. His eyes were chilly. You can leave. I already targeted this bug king a long time ago, waiting all this time. A male descended. He had a large purple bow on his back. He had a large and tall stature, his eyes like bright stars. His expression was calm, confident and unhurried as he stood there, looking at Shahao. Shahao looked at him, finally recognizing that this young man was one of the male and female pair that Immortal Palace's Great One brought into the secret realm, his servant. You are just a servant, yet you dare speak to me like that. Shahao sneered. He noticed that this person was indeed formidable, but he didn't feel a single good intention towards Immortal Palace. In addition, the other party even had this type of attitude, naturally making him unsatisfied with his ruthless words. Holy light flickered about. A white-clothed woman descended from the sky, carrying Immortal Dao aura with her. Her graceful bearing was exceptional, her figure moving and otherworldly. It was precisely Yu Chan's main body. 5-colored multicolored light erupted. A youth with a heroic appearance appeared. He wore long life battle clothes, his movements great and majestic. His divine appearance was intimidating, and his gaze contained confidence. It was actually Qin Hao. He also appeared here. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.